This is a Monday.com ad. The same Monday.com designed for every team. The same Monday.com with built-in AI, scaling your work from day one. The same Monday.com with an easy and intuitive setup. Go to Monday.com and try it for free.
From Estero, Florida, this is a One Extraordinary Marriage show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex has taken the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. Creators of the 6 Pillars of Intimacy, I'm Tony DiLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call or text us on the Hug hotline at 858-876-5663 or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In today's episode, we're talking about what happens when something is not working, but it hasn't been addressed.
There's an anonymous quote that says, "The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results." And I think that happens in a lot of conversations in marriage or conversations that don't happen in marriage. And we're going to be talking about that in today's episode. But we start every episode with a hug. And hug is really an opportunity for us to celebrate you, the breakthroughs that you have, the conversations that you have in your own marriage and what that looks like for the two of you. And this hug comes from a comment that we received in an Instagram DM that said, "I've been listening and following your podcast for a few years now. Your wisdom has meant so much to me and encouraged my marriage greatly. I specifically wanted to thank you for your vulnerability and honesty in episode 95 regarding breast augmentation. Though I've listened to you for quite some time, I did not know this episode existed until I searched for Christian input on this topic. I've had such a difficult time finding resources with Christians talking honestly about this. Your honesty made me feel so seen. I could relate 100%. I'm planning on getting breast augmentation in 6 weeks. Your words helped me sort through my reasons for this decision while still thanking the Lord for my body and finding my identity in Him. I know this episode was from over a decade ago. That was in our first 2 years. But I just wanted you to know that it touched me this many years later. Thank you for your ministry. Your commitment to strengthening marriages has meant so much to me and my husband."
That's awesome. Episode 95, Are Those Real? Is the title of it. Wow, to look back and to see that one. So if you want to go get it, I'll put it here in the episode notes for you, but you can also go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/095 and that'll take it to you on the website. But again, I'll put a link here for you. But my goodness, an episode we did how many years ago? I mean, you got breast
14.
augmentation 15 years ago now.
No, 16 years.
16 years ago now. And to see it come back. And again, I know many of you have listened to the back episodes. Some of you haven't. There's some gems back there for sure. But it's just awesome to hear somebody go, you know what, that impacted me. And this isn't about if you believe in it or you don't believe in it or all. We just shared, and if I'm right, back then, I didn't listen to this episode, just our journey of what it is and what it looked like for Elisa, more importantly, and yet myself as her husband coming alongside her in what we wanted to do. So please do not, this isn't a battle of do we not, anything of that nature. It was more of this was the journey we were on.
And as we always say when an old episode gets referenced, we were much, much younger back then. How we talk to one another, what that sounds like. I just give grace if you listen to the older episodes. That's all we ask for, because we've grown a lot in the last, 16 years in our ability to communicate, which I think is really just kind of an ironic tie-in to this particular episode, because, today we're talking about those topics, those issues, those situations that we tolerate, maybe the conversations that we don't have, and getting into this place of saying, hey, we might need to intentionally interrupt those patterns because they run the risk of becoming permanent. Now, I do want to say, as a wife of 29 plus years, as a marriage coach for 14 years, not everything needs to be brought up. You don't have to say everything that, every thought that comes into your mind. But there are a lot of things that couples do tolerate in order to keep the peace or to avoid a conflict or to, just maintain the status quo. And, interestingly enough, there are quite a few of you that are tolerating something in your marriage right now. We asked recently on Instagram stories, and here was how it all broke down. The question was, are you tolerating something in your marriage right now? 37% of you said yes, and it's affecting us. 16% said yes, but I ignore it. 16% said maybe, and 30% said no, we're good. So if you do those numbers, it's super easy. You guys made it easy this week. 100 minus 30 leaves 70% who have something that's not working in your marriage. Like there's something that needs to be addressed. And it doesn't mean it's catastrophic. But there's something that isn't being talked about. And that doesn't mean it's like going to cause irreparable harm or anything like this. But a lot of times in long-term marriages, what happens is we just get into these communication patterns where we just adapt, we cope, we tolerate, because it's just like life is busy. Like we're busy, right? Or, it could be too exhausting to get into that conversation because you know what the dance is going to look like. Or, can't I tell you how many times people are like, at least I just don't bring it up. I don't want to start something, right? And like we talked about last week, just being tired. Right? So you know that something needs to be addressed, but you can rationalize not taking action on it because there's so many, quote unquote, good reasons not to. But I will tell you that what you tolerate, what you don't address over time, 100% will shape the future of your marriage.
Would you say we do this?
I think from time to time we let things slide.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I would agree. I think when I look at are you tolerating something in your marriage right now? I don't know where we land there. I'd say maybe.
Well, I don't know. Based on last week's episode, I think it probably has to do with the kids. And I mean,
no,
that's it. Yes. I don't know if you're tolerating it, but it's definitely affecting us.
Yeah. I was even going to say just more like even my health and having, I feel like there's some things that are going sideways on me. And
I did ask you, though. I did ask you a very pointed question.
You did ask me a very pointed question. And yet, I think I've been tiptoeing around that for a bit. And so it's not to say that it doesn't happen. I think there are things that do begin to come up, and you do, as a married couple, there are times when you do tiptoe through some of these things. And you're like, for myself, here's the way I look at this, though. There's something happening and it's affecting us. Those are the conversations like, man, we got to have that conversation because it can be detrimental because I think it really does create massive cracks in our pillars of intimacy because we just keep looking at this big old elephant and it's sitting on this pillar.
Right.
And it's really cracking this pillar. So we better do something about it.
Oh my gosh, I love that picture so much.
You know what I mean? It's just this elephant
and the elephant cracks the pillar like that, like as an analogy. Wow.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, it's really good.
And then, yes, but I ignore it.
I think that could go either way.
I think that could go either way. I think that's something like even myself, I've been there. But again, I feel like if we're not dealing with it and we're just pushing it under the rug and just sweeping it under the rug, guess what? There's going to be a pile under the rug eventually that you're going to trip over. Like that's going to happen. You shove enough clothes under the rug, it's going to put a bump there that you're going to trip over it. You like my analogies today?
I do, but this is where my brain goes. A little bit of a detour on this episode. So I still envision the elephant sitting on the pillar, but I think it's just like a pile of poop that is like.
Oh, okay. Under the rug,
or on the rug.
Or on the rug that you're just going to trip over.
It's still stinking things up.
Yep. And then the maybe I think can go either way. I mean, there are things that we need to process and go through. And like, do I need to bring my spouse into this right now? Or is it something that I just need to address? Like sometimes it's that. And then obviously, no, we're good is awesome. But I would say for myself, I think I'm in that maybe and sort of ignoring some stuff. Yeah. Male stuff that I'm just sort of like, do I really want to talk about it? Do I need to? Like, can I do other things? And I had to come to terms with that myself. And you and I having that conversation was very much like, all right, it's time to go see a urologist. Let's move this forward. So, yeah, I mean, there are definitely things that in our marriage over the years we did talk about. We didn't, and we had our moments.
And I think it's important to know, especially because I see a lot of patterns as a coach, that if something isn't working long enough, leaving it alone and just hoping it's going to rectify itself or take care of itself or magically get better doesn't fix it. It doesn't get better. right? If it's a big enough issue that it's just like simmering under the surface, you just kind of normalize. It's like normalizing the pain, right? Like we've talked about our shoulders and stuff like that. And you just kind of go, okay, well, this is my normal. But is it? Is that the way life is supposed to be? And, when you start digging a little deeper and saying, all right, one family, like what are those conversations that need to have? What are you tolerating? What's that thing that needs to change, but you haven't started the conversation yet? And, here were some of the answers we got. Our sexual intimacy, non-sexual touch. We just don't communicate. I have no place in his life. Conflict resolution, our prayer life, reevaluating finances. How do I bring something up without it turning into an argument? Well, we talk, but we don't really listen.
Hitting a number of the pillars there.
Yes. Now I've got this image of like elephants sitting on top of my pillars. We're going to need a fun little cartoon around that. But I think, what this starts to highlight is that there are all of these pillars, right? The 6 pillars: emotional, physical, financial, spiritual, recreational, and sexual. And any one or a combination of them can have topics that you can get into this tolerating part where something is just being normalized and you're not having the conversations around it. And yet, like you have, whether it's a physiological response, you can see the relationship disconnecting or just tension in the relationship,
But do we sometimes just do that, Elisa? Because it's like, I get it. We have tension, and yet just let it slide. Like, just for all the reasons that have been said above, where it was, life is busy, conflict feels exhausting, I don't need to start something new, or we already feel tired. I mean, is it okay? Can I just be like, all right, well, it may be that it's just a season where it's just, we are tired. And do I need to do the work right now, or can it just blow over in 3 months? Can that happen? And I would say yes. I
thought you were asking me.
No. I am going to.
Did it sound like a question? Because it sounded like a question to me. But go ahead. How would you answer your own question?
I would say yes. I'm going to ask you though too.
Oh, okay.
And yet, if it's prolonged, and I don't know what that is. This is where we get into this gray stuff here in marriage, right? We want it to be black and white. We want it to be like, well, this is it, and boom. And a lot of people will tell you that. And you can find it on any social media platform you want to listen to. I believe, though, there are times when there's a lot of gray. And if something's not working, do we need to fix it right now? Or is this just a place where we need to sit a little bit, be in prayer, need to adjust what may be going on, realize where we're at, and then move forward? Now, I'll let you go from there. Sorry.
You don't have to apologize. I just thought it was really funny that you asked.
That was a long explanation I had to ask you. What do you think on that? Because you're the one who's sitting behind the screen with Zoom with so many of your clients.
Sure.
And I would have to suspect there is some gray.
100%. That's why my answer was going to be yes and.
Okay.
Yes, there are those times when it makes sense to put a pause or to not bring something up. Like I said, you don't have to share every thought the minute it comes to your mind. You don't have to share every irritation, because let's face it, sometimes we're irritated because we're just irritated, and that doesn't need to be a source of conflict for our spouse, because we have to do our own business to take care of our own internal and get emotionally regulated and things like that. There are some things that naturally you give them a little bit of time and they do work themselves out. And I think the point that you made, that there's no one set timeline, is really important, because it's not like we are prescribing, hey, wait 90 days, wait 30 days, wait a week, wait 3 years. Like, it doesn't, there's no one formula for this, which does make this whole, like, if something's not working, what are you going to do about it? Like, how do you fix it? But I think you have to become aware of getting into that place where, very specifically, if it's a yes and it's affecting us, that needs attention. If you're in that, I'm ignoring it, well, then you need to explore, why am I not bringing this up? Right? If it's like, hey, I hate bringing up things to my spouse because everything turns into a fight. Well, then you need help. on that. If you're saying, you know what, I'm ignoring it because in the greater scheme of things that we have going on in this season, at the end of the day, is this a hill I'm going to die on? No. Okay. Then that's just picking your battles. Mm-hmm. But I think it really starts to go into this place of what's the internal reaction? What's happening inside of you because of whatever this topic is? Because some things you just got to work through on your own. And some things, like I said, are going to like work themselves out. But a lot of times it's the prolonged stuff.
Yeah.
It's I've had 2 emails come in recently where things have not been addressed for 7 years. One was like they hadn't addressed something that happened 7 years ago, and one was something that hadn't happened, that had happened 12 years ago, and it's still rippling through and creating havoc.
Yeah, we need to address that.
Like that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. Like that's to the extreme. But letting things go to the point where they fester and they start causing a lot of negative emotions, like we got to be sooner. We got to be faster to go after, hey, this isn't working and we need to do something about it.
Yeah. And I appreciate you bringing that up because, folks, there's no reason for you guys to be sitting under that strain for 2, 5, 10 years. Like there just isn't. Like there are people out there who want to help, who can help. And maybe you've gone to some places and you feel like, well, that didn't work. Well, sometimes Elisa and I do things and they don't work, but we don't stop. Now, we may take a little bit of a pause and go, okay, we need to reassess, and yet we got to keep moving forward. I think something that Gottman brought up many, many years ago was like, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but the average couple will wait, 5 to 6 years, 5 to 7,
6 to 7,
6 to 7 years before they will get help. And if something's not working in your marriage and it's been festering for 5, 6, 7 years, it's time to deal with it. And I would even say if you've been dealing with something that's been going on for 6 months and it's really causing some massive strain on your pillars of intimacy, even less, maybe it's been a year, maybe it's been 3 months, we need to address it now. You don't need to sit there for 3 months and then all of a sudden that 3 months turns into 3 years, which then turns into 7 years, and you're looking at one another going, I think it's time for us to get a divorce. I mean, this is true stuff, folks. If we let this stuff fester, I don't know what to say. We're here and we're going to do everything we can for your marriage. And yet often it gets to that point where you just go
irreconcilable. Irreconcilable.
What Elisa just said. Differences. And that's not where you want to be. We got to deal with our stuff. And I can say that because I've had to in 29 years of marriage deal with my stuff. Not easy. And yet worth it. Because I would not want to do a day without my beautiful wife, Elisa. I wouldn't. She can drive me crazy.
Which I do.
And yet she brings so much joy to my life. And I would not want to do a day without her. And so those are those moments when I got to look at my own self and go, what am I holding on to? What needs to be released? And all I'm saying, man, if I'm going to just talk to my husbands right now. Guys, if there's something that happened a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm imploring you to move and deal with it. Like, do not sit there a day longer. Go find yourself a counselor. Go find yourself a therapist. Go talk to your pastor. Go talk to your men's ministry leader. Do something. But do not sit there any longer in your thoughts thinking everything that's going on is your wife's fault or somebody else's fault. Take those thoughts captive and let's do something.
Okay, I think it's important to note that buried issues aren't going to disappear.
No.
Right? They're going to turn to, couple common scenarios, right? Where it turns to tension or somebody shuts down or you just continue to ignore it. And to the point that Tony made, when you go 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 years, it does that, all of that tolerating of circumstances, it becomes harder to address. right? And so you've got to get into this mindset of saying, okay, what is the reset that we need and how do we go about doing that? And we're going to do that after this break. You know that moment when you can feel a new season coming? Even here in Southwest Florida, we notice the days get a little longer, and it makes me think about fresh starts. I'll look at my calendar and ask, what do we want this next season to look like? One thing that always rises to the top, making sure the life that Tony and I have built is protected. Let's be honest, protecting your loved ones can feel overwhelming, and life insurance is easy to put off. That's why I like Policy Genius. They're not an insurance company. They're a marketplace that lets you compare quotes from some of America's top insurers side by side for free. Their licensed team works for you, answering your questions, handling the paperwork, and helping you find the right policy for your needs. Protect the life you've built. With Policy Genius, you can see if you can find 20-year life insurance policies starting at just $276 a year for $1 million in coverage. Head to policygenius.com to compare life insurance quotes from top companies and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com.
This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife? Feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But it's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI's not just a healthcare provider. It's a women's telehealth clinic founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. Their clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. They offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions that isn't one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will find that their mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the healthcare they deserve. Because they believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It is the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized, insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.
We're back, and we're discussing, these topics that can be hard to bring up, the things that we tolerate. But when you recognize that you need to have that reset conversation, and this is just kind of getting into sort of like a little like micro action to be able to do this.
And before we go there, I just want to share with you, we have our communication reset program. Mm-hmm. Some of this is coming from that, but it's very little pieces of it because we only have so much time. If you really want to dive into your emotional intimacy, we have the whole couple method there that you can learn and use, and many in the One Family have put into action. So they're not just looking at it, because a lot of it was emotional intimacy, the conversations. How do we do this? I don't want to bring it up because it could cause this and that and, all the things. What we're giving you here is a taste of that because of time frame. If you're interested, go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/reset, pick up the communication reset program, begin to apply the couple method in your marriage so you can strengthen that emotional intimacy pillar.
So let's just talk about a couple, quick things that you can do this week. Let's drop the blame game. I know it's really comfy. We really like pointing fingers at other people, but if you haven't figured this out yet in your marriage, it does not work. Blaming your spouse never really gets you the desired, effect of, oh yeah, honey, I'm so glad you're like throwing this in my face and I totally want to change. So instead of the you never, you always type statements, get into this place of I've noticed this is happening. Not you doing this, but I've noticed this is happening. Instead of you don't care about intimacy or my feelings or whatever, you can get into a place of, hey, I miss this feeling of closeness that we've had. And so you get into a place of bringing clarity to what the situation is, what the circumstances are, what has been tolerated, instead of accusing people, because clarity leads to action. Accusations leads to shutdown, right? The second thing that you want to think about is picking the right moment. I was coaching a couple this past week, and they were talking to me about a conversation that got brought up. And so I was like, well, how late was it? And the gentleman looked at me and he's like, Elisa, it was 12:31 a.m. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's really late or really early, however you decide to see that, way after dark. And the problem is that they'd come out off of this like celebratory night. And then, here's oh, hey, before we go to bed, I just want to bring something up. We don't have to talk about it right now, but it's kind of been something I'm thinking about. And now we're half awake, half asleep, and this is going to carry on into the next day. Mm-hmm. My rule of thumb, and this is something I do feel pretty strongly about, is that the big conversations aren't happening after 9:00 at night. They're not happening, really trying to get into this and trying to like solve it when you're already like heightened emotions and desperately just like grasping at straws and right in the middle of all that tension. Like, you want to be intentional about these conversations, because being able to approach when you're not exhausted, when you're not in that, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Right. When, like if you're hungry, eat first. It'll be a better conversation. Right? If you're angry, process your own emotions first, but get into this place where you can actually be able to have the conversation. Another thing with what you've been tolerating is that some of you, if I asked you, probably have a laundry list of issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, they just piled up. They've piled up, right? It's like, I'm not going to bring up this one. And then before you know it, it's like,
you're the circus parade with all the elephants. Coming back to your elephant analogy, sorry.
Sitting on a pillar and cracking it.
Sitting on a pillar. Well, this is more like the parade of elephants.
Oh, this is a parade. Okay.
Yeah, they're all
they're lined
circling,
up.
just saying, hey, we're here. And then you want to like address every single one of them in the conversation. Well, people's attention span doesn't work like that. I don't care how much you haven't talked about things and you think this is your one opportunity. Be specific about the one thing in this conversation, and also what change looks like. Mm-hmm. Not what your spouse needs to change, but what change would look like in the relationship. And then finally, please don't try and overhaul everything at once. I can't tell you how many times I have heard Tony say, hey, pick one pillar. Mm-hmm. Don't pick all 6. Don't overwhelm yourself. Where can you be intentional? Is it a conversation? Is it prayer time with your spouse? Is it we do need to look at our finances this week? Like, what does it mean to reset where we are now? Here's where we are today. What does the reset look like? What is that one small adjustment that we can make to interrupt the drift, the cycles, the patterns in our marriage?
Yeah. Hey, when we look at this, gosh, like I said, there's nuances. Mm-hmm. And we want you to hear that. We want you to know that. And the reason is being, you have an amazing marriage. You're not broken. You can fix these things. You can go to your tool chest, your toolbox. You can get the communication reset program. You can go to a counselor, a therapist, a marriage coach. You can do something. But I also want to make sure we understand that Tony and Elisa still go through our own stuff. We are still dealing with our own things. The reason we love podcasting in particular than just social media clips here and there, because we want you to hear the real life, the truth about what is happening in marriage at times and what we can do to make adjustments and fix it when we need to. And so this week, I think the biggest thing is looking at it and going, where am I? Where are we? What can I do? What can we do? And actually go do something. And for those of you who have been sitting on something for 5, 6, 10 years, I'm going to tell you right now, it's time to apply for coaching with Elisa. Like, you need to shift something in your marriage. And you waiting another day doesn't bring you any closer to a place of reconciling maybe with your spouse or clearing up the big issue that you're dealing with. So if that's you, go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/coaching. No obligation to apply. But please, let's do something. Because we can't address the issues that are going on in your marriage if you don't bring them up. And so with that, you guys have yourselves a wonderful week. Love you guys.